All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Resolve Office Hours. I'm seeing some people start to pop
Yeah.
in here. Thank you all so much for joining us. We're super excited to chat with you all about all things e-commerce, all things content strategy and SEO. We've got Kristan Bauer joining us here today. She'll be sharing some great insights with y'all.
Awesome. It's great to be here and see everyone.
Yeah, real quick, where are you all
Um,
joining us from? If you want to throw where you're at in the chat, we'd love to see where the audience is from and where you're all at. I'm here in Boise, Idaho. Kristen, are you still in Bend? Is that where you're at?
I am. I'm in Bend, Oregon.
Oh, that's awesome. I've
Yeah.
heard great things about Bend. I hear it's a sweet spot.
It is. Bend's amazing. It's busy these days because everyone knows how great it
Yeah, word
is.
got out.
Boise too, I've heard is
Yep.
busy.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
just blown up over here. But cool. We got
Yeah.
Portland, we got Chicago,
Wow.
which is one of my favorites. I'm a Bears,
So
Bulls,
cool.
and Cubs fan, so I get there as much as I can. Billings, Montana, a little bit more Northwest vibes.
Cool.
Cubs go. Fly the W. Kingston, Jamaica. All right.
Very cool.
Awesome. And then I know it's about lunchtime. Is anybody having anything interesting for lunch? I've got some orange peels here from my little pre-webinar snack. Anybody have any good plans there? Maybe not. Crock pot. Nap
Ooh,
time.
I'm jealous of that one.
That's very nice. Very cool. Well, hey, we're getting a pretty decent corned beef. Dang, that's what I'm
Ooh.
talking about. I'm a big Reuben fan, and either corned beef or pastrami are both great in my
Mm.
book. So that's good stuff. Well, I think we got some good intros here. Let's go ahead. I'm going to get the. Oh no, actually, we're doing the slide deck on your end, Kristen. If you want to
Yes,
fire up that slide deck on your end,
definitely.
we'll go from there. While she's doing that, I'll just launch a quick poll because polls are fun. The question today is, do you even SEO? So you currently focus on SEO in your organization? You can say yes, and it's going great. Yes, but we're struggling. No, but I'd like to get started. And SEO, what is that? Why am I here again? We've got some great responses here. Quite a few people are in the no, but I'd like to, and yes, but I'm struggling. And a lot of you are doing great. So hopefully we can just help you build on that. Along the way with the webinar today, be sure to submit your questions in either the Q&A section or the chat. And then also, if you have a website that you want us to review and provide you feedback on, you can throw that into the chat, and we will do a live workshop at the end of the webinar. So make sure to throw those in there. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll here in a minute. Oh, I'm so glad that we have the AI assistant here to take notes. That chat AI assistant. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and kick things off. Kristen, if you want to, I'll let you introduce yourself. You know.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you, Michael. I'm so happy to be here with everyone and be here with Michael and talk about e-commerce SEO. So before we dive in, we'll say, who am I? What's my background? And why am I here today talking to you about e-commerce SEO? So I've been in SEO for quite a while. I've been in SEO for about 15 years. I've worked agency, in-house. Most recently, I'm the founder of Conifer, an award-winning SEO agency. I since sold that agency earlier this year and am now an independent consultant and continuing to work with Conifer and other great brands on SEO. Before Conifer, I was in-house director of SEO at Zillow Group and then also head of SEO at AWS. So I've been around the block a few times when it comes to SEO and really excited today to dig on into e-commerce. Michael, anything else you want to add before we get started?
That sounds perfect to
Perfect.
me. We already got someone, Thomas, threw his website in
Oh,
for us to take a look
perfect.
at. So excited to review that. And if anybody else also
Amazing.
goes in there, I'll be active on the chat. So if anyone
Cool.
has questions along the way, I'll ping Kristan to let her know that different questions have come up. So feel free to keep that going, and I'll
Perfect.
moderate that for you.
Perfect. Well, let's dig in. E-commerce SEO. That's a big topic. So SEO for e-commerce websites and online retailers can get really complex. You have a lot of different technical and then content related items that you really need to keep track of and create that thoughtful strategy around. So this slide really just showcases a few of many items that are important to overall holistic e-commerce SEO. We've got category pages, product pages, so those direct shopping pages, faceted navigation. E-commerce websites and faceted navigation is notorious for creating all sorts of crawl trap issues, duplication issues for search engines. So that's a big area to focus on. Site speed has a lot of user experience and conversion impacts. Even more important for e-commerce websites versus even other types of brands as well. And then we also have items like structured data, duplication management, internal linking, local optimization if you have brick and mortar stores in addition to online retail. So there's really a lot to keep track of. What we want to talk about today is content. So we really just want to focus on e-commerce content. And I like to think about e-commerce content with two tracks, primary tracks for e-commerce content. Most importantly, we have product content. So that's going to be your category pages, your subcategory pages, and your product detail pages. These are really the core types of content that will be driving the bulk of your conversions, revenue, that really shopping experience. Then we also have resource content. So when I think about resource content for e-commerce brands, it's going to be more informational, how-to guides, product reviews. We'll dig into all of this here later in this deck. But this is really just a few examples on how to leverage that resource content. I also threw local pages in here, which local can kind of be its own beast, and we'll talk about that as well. But for brick and mortar locations, we do need to have that local content, those location pages, which can also be informative and resources for users. Okay, digging into categories. When we talk about categories, I first like to take a step back and think about what kind of categories we offer on a given website. So we have category expansion and subcategory generation. Really, the goal here is to understand those different permutations on how users, different permutations on how users search for various products and then matching that to your inventory. The goal here, we just want to is uncover new categories and subcategories that match search demand and your product availability. So this is where we kind of get to that sweet spot in terms of understanding what type of products your e-commerce brand sells and then how people search for that. So these category searches are really going to target those higher volume, more broad, generic searches. So taking a product example, we have a backpack. That's a very generic search. There's a lot of different ways that you can break this down. It could be use case, brand, color, material, gender, descriptors. For example, someone might be searching for a travel backpack or hiking backpack. They might be searching for a Nike or JanSport backpack. They might be looking for a leather backpack or cute or luxury backpack. So it's really trying to understand how do we describe our products and then build out those pages. Here's an example that we'll run through just to kind of get some food for thought running through here. And I'm going to run with the hiking backpack theme throughout a lot of this deck. So for those that don't know me, I am an avid, I'd say outdoors woman. Love the outdoors, obviously living in Bend. And so spend as much time as I can hiking, trail running, just doing anything I can to get outside with my family. So those themes will be incorporated into this content. For example, if you're an outdoor retailer, what makes sense for your inventory? We can talk about having a small hiking backpack, a baby hiking backpack, osprey hiking backpack, best day hiking backpack. And so when we think about this with our SEO hat on, we can think about these as qualifiers to refine and create new category pages. And so I might be looking for a day hiking backpack. I might be looking for a toddler hiking backpack or a hiking backpack to put my toddler in. And so we really want to come up with this keyword universe for all of our categories and then organize them by topical interest and product availability. Now, thinking about optimizing these category landing pages. So when we think about category and product landing pages, these will largely be based on templates. And so what we want to do is be thoughtful with how we outline these page templates, because that will allow this content to scale in an SEO friendly fashion because you already have an optimized template. This is an example here from Dick's Sporting Goods on women's running shoes. And we want to break this down into specific sections and also sections that are important for SEO. All of these are really important for SEO, to be honest. We have these breadcrumb links up top. We have women's running shoes. That's the H1, which is also the core topic of this page. We have the filters and refinements on the left. And then I love the SEO content that's kind of usually shoved down below the products, which is okay as long as it's integrated thoughtfully into the page. We don't want it to stick out like a sore thumb. And so in terms of this content, the SEO content, quote unquote SEO content, that's usually just shoved at the bottom of the page, having content down here is more helpful than not having content. Google has even said that. It helps them understand more context about these products and what this page is about versus just a list of products. And so you can see here, Dick's Sporting Goods has accordions to kind of aid in that user experience. They have featured selection, expert advice. A lot of this can be tied into different types of running shoes, products. They also have links to feature categories. So those internal links are super important. And you can see here that these categories really lean into what we're talking about with that subcategory and category expansion. They have best running shoes for women. They have Brooks running shoes. They have ASICS stability running shoes, neutral running shoes. So a lot of different ways to break this down. And I do also want to highlight the actual products itself on the category page, because that's also really important how we display products and how we link to them. We want to link the product name. We want to make sure we balance showing as many products as we can with page speed. We want to have the right pagination in place so Google can crawl, all these things. So when we even think about content, there's a lot of technical components that roll up into that. And Michael, I assume, please interrupt me if there's a question that we need to talk through in real time.
Yeah, we've got one question. But I think
Cool.
it'll be more of like a Q&A time question. So you're going to keep rolling.
Perfect. So now thinking about product page optimization, this is really going to be the next section on that shopping focused content. Here's a snapshot of just an example product page template. And it's really leaning into core features about the product. We want to make sure we have the product name, brand, images. We'll talk about image optimization and how important that is for Google search. We have the price, variance, availability, customer reviews, product description, features, specifications, related product links, breadcrumb linking. So all these items have their place in creating an SEO friendly and optimized product page template. So I do want to talk about the product description for a moment, because ideally some of this would be shown above the fold. There's been industry studies showing that having a little bit of this description above the fold can be helpful for SEO. But again, you want to balance that with your conversions. And then we also want to integrate contextually relevant keywords within that product description. So what type of product is this? This also helps add context for search engines and users. So for example, I worked with a kayak and paddleboard manufacturer a few years ago, and they have these just amazing high-end kayaks and paddleboards that like people will even use for racing. And so their product pages, they're selling this like luxury product. And they have these beautifully designed product pages. But then in their product descriptions, they don't even mention kayak. I think there was a product page I looked at where they just talk about the name, the product name, which no one would know that's the kayak if they don't even know this brand. And so they just talk about, oh, how great it is in the water for high speed and performance, etc. But oh, by the way, it's a kayak that you can use for whitewater kayaking or racing or what have you. So thinking about using those descriptors that people will be searching and thinking about within that product description, super important. And this can be often overlooked. Next, we want to think about optimizing for click-through rate and search engine result page appearance. So SERP, or search engine result page, is really our first introduction with a user when they are searching in browser-based search engines like Google. And so I like to think about this click-through rate and SERP appearance broken down into 3 different elements: title tag, meta description, and rich snippets. So rich snippets, you'll see that section highlighted in orange there below the meta description. And that highlights reviews, customer reviews, price, availability, any other features around shipping, returns. All this is populated via product schema. And so this is something that does fall into technical SEO, but it's really important to leverage within content, and it does affect how that content does appear. So all of this would be via product schema. And then for product pages and optimizing those title tags and meta descriptions, traditionally leaning on that product name plus any unique descriptors you see here, like Dick's Sporting Goods has Hoka women's Clifton 9 running shoe. So it's a women's running shoe. So thinking about how we describe that. And then for category, subcategory pages, typically leaning into more what I like to call those click-through rate keywords. So that could be % off if you're running a big sale, free shipping. I read a study showing that capitalizing free and shipping can increase rank and traffic as well, or in stock availability. So these might be often overlooked items, but they have nuances when it comes to that user behavior and click through.
Awesome. Real quick, Kristin, before you jump forward, we had a good question from Thomas. Is there a certain tool that you use for implementing structured data?
That's a very good question. And that would largely depend, I think, on your CMS. And so if you have like a Shopify CMS, I think they have some built-in features. WordPress, there are some plugins. Honestly, there is a schema plugin that I just am blanking on the name right now, but I'll look it up when we are into our Q&A format and I'm not presenting, and then drop it into the chat. Perfect. But there are easy plugins for WordPress that allow this scalability. Yes, Schema Pro, I think that might be it. Very cool. So in terms of content resources, thinking about related content resources, that informational content. The goal of this informational content is to drive awareness, traffic, backlinks, which is Michael's world. He'll dive into that, and conversion. So really thinking about creating non-shopping content that converts. So a few examples on how I like to structure this: questions, how to pack a hiking backpack, best roundup, so these listicles, best women's trail runners, product reviews, Hoka Speed Goat review. So you could think about this from a category and then product perspective as well, to kind of fine tune and narrow down those topics, and then funnel users back into the shopping experience. So that's really what it's all about. We want to leverage that content. Here are a few examples on how to find potential resource topics. There's a variety of different ways that we can find resource topics to create content around, whether it's from third-party tools, from Google search, from competitors. This screenshot here on the left is from the SEMrush Keyword Magic tool, taking that hiking backpack theme. I like to look at questions. So we can see what questions are most commonly searched: how to pack a hiking backpack, how to attach hiking poles to a backpack. Thinking about creating clusters around this content and answering these questions will also allow you to funnel users back into that shopping section for maybe trekking poles, hiking poles, backpacks, hiking backpacks, etc. In Google search, you can really use clues that Google leaves around different topics, like trail running shoes versus running shoes, or trail running shoes versus hiking shoes. These would also be great topics to cover an informational section. And then you can also lean on that people also ask section and take these questions, insert them into third-party tools, see if they actually have search volume. If so, great, integrate them into content or create a standalone piece of content. I like to use, people also ask terms as kind of FAQs or subheadings within a section, like, can trail shoes be used for running? That would be a great section for trail running shoes versus hiking shoes for that type of content. Here are some examples of good e-commerce resources. This Jensen USA's example on how to change a bike tire. They are a bike brand. And so they have a complete guide, step-by-step instructions on how to change a bike tire. They also have videos as well, instructions, photos. You can integrate links back into different types of biking products, tires, wheels, etc. Here's an example from the Hoka Speed Goat review. You can see here they have scoring, reviews, product information. They have a great table here on comparing similar products. So thinking about how to highlight these types of product features and then funnel users back into that product page. They also have videos as well. So this can also just aid in that overall engagement and building that contextual depth and relevance for the brand. Okay, what about brands with an online and brick and mortar location? We obviously want to leverage Google Business Profile. GMB and Google Maps is key for any brand that has a local store. So this would be an online retailer that also has a brick and mortar location. Local SEO is a whole nother can of worms that really does warrant its own discussion. What we want to talk about is content on the website. And so to me, that would be location pages and any specific location-based content. Here's an example of the REI Bend, our local REI store. They have information about their store hours. They have the phone number. They have the address. It's all very clearly listed here. We want to make sure this is up to date as well and consistent in terms of how your address is formatted across any other location online. They also have content about that store location, links to related stores. Incorporating any local content as well could be really helpful, like best, local trail runnings or things to do outside in Bend. Stuff like that can really help with that experience and add that local relevance. Next, let's talk about Google's shopping ecosystem just a little bit, because while we want to focus on content for our websites for e-commerce, we all know Google is constantly changing up how it shows e-commerce content and how users interact with that content. You all know Google is constantly changing their search results experience, in particular with shopping has been a huge area of focus in an area that has seen shifts over the last couple of years, in the last year in particular. Google does say that it can show e-commerce and product content and these core 6 different areas. So Google search would be those classic organic results that we just talked about optimizing. Google images. So this is going to be really important, not only for optimizing those product pages, but also for image search and then merchant center as well. Google Lens, the Google shopping tab. We'll talk about merchant center here in a second, because leveraging that free resource for Google Merchant Center will allow retailers to showcase their products within that shopping tab. Your business profile, that GMB or GBP. I'm kind of mixing those acronyms here. But yeah, it's changed a few times over the years. The Google Business Profile, GBP, and making sure that's fine-tuned, and then Google Maps. So that's really relevant and dependent on your GBP. How I like to leverage Google's shopping experience. So we're going to leave a discussion here with this today. Like I mentioned, Google can leave clues in how to optimize and leverage their shopping experience and topics. So what I like to do is go back to that category and subcategory expansion and leaning in on what Google has here for refinements. Taking that hiking backpack, for example, we see here it's sorted by capacity quite a bit. So 20 to 30 liters, over 50 liters. Let's take all of these capacity refinements and drop them into a tool and see if they have volume. Also department, gender, features, waterproof hiking backpack, kids hiking backpack. So these will be all things that I want to take a look at for core products, categories and then use this to fill that category and subcategory expansion in that matrix. Product schema. This is something we talked about briefly, but leveraging that product schema will also allow you to have those rich snippets, and it does aid in that shopping tab experience as well. The merchant center, that's really a necessity in order to be shown here for that shopping tab. And that's a free resource for Google. You go and register, you can automatically connect your products. Tools like Shopify or CMSs like Shopify have an automatic connection, and Google can update the product feed essentially automatically. And so this is a free, easy to use resource, very effective. But you do also want to optimize those images. And then I like to leverage page search data. So this is something where you don't have to pay in order to be included in the shopping section. But if you do pay and spend on paid ads, then that is something that we want to think about that data and see what's driving clicks, what's converting. Do we have content for that in organic? And are we talking about those terms and keywords within our products and categories? So a lot of different ways to leverage that shopping experience to benefit organic and SEO content. So I think that's really all I had for everyone today. I know we can dig into any questions specifically and any other type of use case or tactical day-to-day execution as well. Hopefully this is helpful as you're building out your e-commerce SEO strategy.
Awesome, Kristan. That was great. Yeah, the bit you had on Merchant Center is awesome. My brother helps a company that does a lot of e-commerce, and they hadn't even gotten Google Ads up and running on the website yet. And I was like, before you do that, let's just get Merchant Center going. And they right away started getting conversions for free just by getting that set up. So it was pretty awesome.
That's amazing. It's so cool to see that in action.
Yeah, great free little resource. Well, I'm gonna go ahead on my end here. We'll chat a little bit about kind of the link building side of things, as well as just kind of a couple tips here and there I have on creating content that answers questions and problems. So whether you're in e-commerce, you're in B2B, whatever space you're in, one of the big things I'm always thinking about when it comes to content strategy is just like, what are those pain points? What we call the panic questions here at Resolve is like the thing that ultimately makes people act when it comes to buying your product. And so a great example is one of our clients, Arrow Sewing. They're an e-commerce brand. They dominated the space for like keywords related to sewing table. But what they told us was most people who know they need a sewing table already know us because we're the biggest brand. What we want to do is, how do we get in front of the sewists that don't know about this product, that don't know that it exists? So we identified their blog was maybe getting a click or two per month for them over the last year or so. All we had to do was create a handful of articles that answered this pain point related stuff. And within a few months, they had a blog that was generating almost 30,000 clicks for them over a 6-month span. And so it's just a great example of the power that people are asking questions about what you do. They're trying to get answers. And so sometimes as an e-commerce brand, you need to take a step back from your products and just like, what are people going to search to find my product? And instead think about, what is the problem that I'm solving? And what are those people thinking about in those higher parts of the marketing funnel? I always kind of show this top of the funnel content idea. A lot of search traffic that exists out on the web is informational. It's top or mid funnel. So if you're only targeting this bottom of the funnel content, you're missing out on a huge amount of potential search traffic that exists. But tying this back into link building, we at Resolve, we're always kind of helping our clients understand like, hey, we need to create some linkable content or some content that can generate backlinks. And they're like, okay, well, I've got this great product review guide, or I've got this great this. And those are not necessarily what I would call top of the funnel, or linkable content. So really what linkable content is it's content that's generated for the express purpose of earning links. It's original, it's accurate, and it's tailored to a well-defined audience. One of the things that I find that helps content to be very linkable is content that speaks to specific audiences or groups on the web and provides value to them. It's informational, educational in nature. Its primary goal isn't to drive sales or conversions. And the idea is that it's going to connect your website and your subject matter to these relevant niches and audiences. So yes, top of the funnel, linkable content is going to be consistently top of the funnel. I think I'll skip this one for now. So we kind of pointed this out here. It's going to be living in this awareness or interest phase. So think about stuff that is informational, that's educational, that's entertaining, blog articles, infographics, videos, podcasts. These are all things that can be deemed linkable and that you can use to help you attract backlinks for your website. Ultimately, the question you'll want to ask yourself is who's going to link to this and why? So a quick example, one that I'm actually really pumped on. We have a client who we were able to get them, I think it's been like 5.edu links over the past month. They help people find developers. I don't think I can share the website now that I think about it, so I won't, but they help people find developers to hire for their organizations. And so what we did was we thought, who is a group that is underrepresented in the developer space? And we've identified that often women are underrepresented in that space. So we created a career guide for helping women become developers. And it's just like a huge long form piece, has all the information that would be helpful, whether it's, groups and organizations that exist, whether it's how to navigate, sexism in the workplace or things like that. And we created this guide and we reached out to all the different careers pages or like women's resource pages, and we're able to get some amazing backlinks, including like 5.edu links. So again, think of those audiences and those groups that you can help and that you can serve within your industry. Now, the question I'm sure you're all asking right now is, how does my linkable tofu help my mofu and bofu? Just for those of you who don't know, tofu is top of the funnel, mofu's middle of the funnel, bofu's bottom of the funnel. Really, the answer to this is going to be internal links. You want to find that linkable content that, like I mentioned earlier, bridges the gap between the groups you want to get links from and the products and services that you sell. So what you'll do is you'll earn quality backlinks by having a great piece of content that you can outreach and promote. Then you'll internally link your link magnet, for lack of a better phrase, to these conversion pages or middle of the funnel pages. And then what happens is that you'll have this kind of funnel now going on where you're bringing in authority from other websites into your pages and then using your internal linking to pass that authority to those deeper pages on your site. There are, however, really good opportunities, especially if you're a brand that's fairly well known, that you can use to get links directly back to your products or category pages. And one of those strategies is unlinked mentions. So one of the questions we had earlier was from Avid Exchange, and he was curious on increasing non-branded search traffic. One thing that you could look at, I noticed that your website is pretty authoritative. You guys are like a 71. I haven't checked yet, but if you do like a Google News search and start searching to see if your brand has been mentioned in the news or if your products have been mentioned out on the web, those are often really easy opportunities to convert into backlinks. And more often than not, you can get them to link directly back to a product page. So this is an example of one of our clients. They're a pretty well-known brand in the accounting software space. We started outreaching for this page back in, I think it was November, December time. And I think all we had to do was build like 6 or 7 unlinked mentions. They had unlinked mentions sitting on like Cornell, EDU, and like some really nice websites. We got those to convert, and it tripled their traffic to one of their main product pages over the course of 6 months. So really powerful strategies that you can use to help get links to some of these pages. Ultimately, what you want to end up with is this repeatable, sustainable system for acquiring backlinks. You have link magnets that you can use to attract those third-party links. They're internally linking to other pages on your site. You can then repeat this process and continually grow the authority of your site and improve your internal linking structure between these pages and relevant topics by connecting those pieces. All right, so that's all I had for you. Real quick, I do have a fun little offer for everybody before we jump into the Q&A section. If you are interested in getting a free ranking roadmap from me, I'll sit down with you. I'll walk you through where your best opportunities are for traffic growth, what content your competitors are using to drive traffic. You can scan the QR code here. If anybody does sign up with us, Kristan I was gonna be able to hook you up with some services. So we'll get you hooked up with Kristan to do a free consultation if you do end up signing up with Resolve. So go ahead if you want to scan that there. I'll also launch a poll. I give you the option because I know I am not for everyone. And you can say, are you interested in working with Resolve and or Kristan? It's like, yes, I'm interested in the Resolve Kristan offer. No, thank you. Maybe send me some more info, or just Kristan, I don't like you, Michael. That is okay. No, perfect. So we're getting a few responses here. I'll close the poll here in 1 second, and then we will jump in to the Q&A section. All right, we got quite a few maybe send me more info, so I'll take that.
I don't know why anyone could not like you, Michael. Just gonna say that.
Oh, I appreciate that.
I know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Great. We are going to end poll. All right. So we've got some good stuff in the chat, some good questions. So the first question here, Kristan, I'll run it by you and then I'll provide some feedback, is their company is doing a topic cluster webpage reorg. They said, how long for Google to recognize changes? We are reorganizing a section of our website to follow a topic cluster strategy. Involves creating a pillar page, keyword mapping, moving and changing URLs, updating on-page content. So he has two questions. Leadership wants to test this reorg for 3 months. Is that enough time to allow Google to recognize the structure, content, and URL changes? And he said, we're doing this with specific web pages, not blog posts. All the examples I've seen online of this strategy have had to do with blog content. Is there an example of how this is done for web pages that are not blog posts? So I guess maybe the first question, is 3 months enough time to allow Google to recognize the structure, content, and URL changes?
So I would say yes, if it's done right. If it's all executed right with SEO in mind. And so with the restructuring, I guess firstly, that sounds like a really thoughtful strategy, and I would expect that to do really well for SEO, being organized around those topic clusters, because that will help reinforce each individual topic and then the brand's authority. That being said, URL changes and migrations, that will require Google to rescore and rank the new URL. So I like to think about URLs as kind of like Google's location in the filing cabinet, if you think about it. So Google has its filing cabinet, and that URL, it'll go into the filing cabinet, pull a URL every time there's a relevant search, and then rank that page. And so when we are migrating and changing URLs, Google has to find a new location in the filing cabinet, or update that location in the filing cabinet for its URL. And so it obviously can take time. I think 3 months, if done right via one-to-one 301 redirects. I would not mess around with 302 or 307, 308, whatever. No JavaScript redirects, just do one-to-one 301 redirects from old URL to the new URL. Google should be able to find that new page and then rescore that effectively by 3 months. I have worked with brands where I've seen that update within as little as 2 weeks. So that would be on the higher end of more authoritative brands if you're updating URLs. And you can monitor that traffic and really see, traffic to the old URL drop and then hopefully bounce back up for that new URL at some point. So again, I've seen that as little as 2 weeks. If it's done poorly, it could take longer than 3 months. But you should be seeing those impacts, and then keeping in mind with that migration, having, ideally you have like one-to-one content, but also one-to improved content. So if you are updating title tags and heading tags and page structure and content, thinking about making it an improvement, not just, a one-to-one match. So using tools like I like to use, like Surfer SEO and optimize content and within their editor or audit. So just making sure that you are being thoughtful on that content improvement.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. I always, anytime I hear like a 3-month timeline for SEO, I'm always like, that's right about when it should be, good, but it can, you never know if some things can change. But I've said, like, when it comes to publishing new content, we just had one recently I can show a screenshot of it because I don't think I am. Oh, I just realized I have all the questions pulled up on the screen here. Okay, let me grab this over here. So real quick, this was a fun one. Oh no, this wasn't the one I wanted to share. This is the one I wanted to share. So grab this here. So we helped this client out. They had seen some drops on one of their main category pages. And they reached out to us right around here in April and were like, hey, can you help us out with this? And we were like, no problem. So we did a lot of what Kristan talked about in her section of the presentation. We added some more descriptive content. We put a FAQ box at the bottom, really filled out those, did a really good job of, like I said, helping Google contextualize what is this product, what are the questions and things around it that exist. And sure enough, not only did the client recover their lost traffic, they're now performing above where they were before. So, and I think they got this published, I want to say end of May or early June. So this is an example of one where results happened pretty quickly within a few weeks, but this is a really large e-commerce brand. And so sometimes Google will, and this is a question that Megan had, which maybe it's a good segue into it, of Google loving the big brands and not the little guys, but definitely saw a quick turnaround on that. But I've had other projects where, yeah, it takes 3 months to really start to see recovery and growth. So it's a little bit of an it depends. So on that question, Megan Collins asked, I'm concerned that Google is tending to favor websites that have more money and really aren't interested in having the little guy rank anymore, regardless of how optimized their website is. How can a small mom and pop e-commerce site rank in Google when Google seems to run like a borderline crime syndicate? Kristan, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it can seem like that at times for sure. I mean, Google does favor big brands and brands in general that have good awareness. Like Google can understand the ratio or percentage of branded to non-branded clicks a website gets and can favor brands that have good ratio there. So obviously you want to invest in brand building activities. In terms of trying to focus like a mom and pop store, that's where we want to, I think, dig a little deeper into more of that long tail and maybe lower difficulty keywords. And that's something where your tools and third-party tools can help guide that strategy. That's not to say you don't want content on the site if it's relevant, that is targeting competitive searches, but you probably want to lean into more long tail niche type of content around products, because that's something where you might have more of a chance at being more visible in those SERPs. You might also want to lean into more of that relevant informational content, build out those topic clusters like we've been talking a lot about today, build that local authority, lean more into local SEO and Google Business Profile. And so I think there's a few different ways to balance just not maybe going after those big whale terms, like the backpack or hiking backpack. You might need to be talking about, long distance backpacking backpack, something that has a little bit more long tail and lower difficulty. That'd be my first approach.
Yeah, no, I agree with the same thing. Definitely getting more long tail, more focused on that. Sometimes those long tail keywords, they may not have the volume behind them, but because they're so specific, you can often get a higher amount of intent behind that. You can often capture those higher conversion keywords. So sometimes it's not all bad news. It can actually help you to get a win there as well by focusing a little bit deeper.
Yeah, and totally. Even if a keyword has 20 searches, but it's super relevant to your product, it's worth it, especially for local, like a mom and pop's brand or website. That's not necessarily that 20 searches a month isn't going to be, I think, representative of the entire type, like the entire universe of searches around that topic, because it will be so long tail. So it can still make a very meaningful difference in traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question from Megan. This is one that's probably fun for me. And Kristan, you're welcome to provide your feedback. Says, my higher ups claim that link building is pretty much dead unless you can get digital PR links, since Google's recent algo link basically says digital PR links are the primary links that have real link juice and ranking influence. Are guest posts and resource links useless in the current ranking world? I would say this is a great question. This is one that everybody's kind of wondering about, especially post spam brain. My main piece of feedback is ultimately we want to look at two things. And actually it came out in that recent Google algorithm leak that there's kind of some things you really want to consider when it comes to any link. I wouldn't say that any one tactic is dead or doesn't work. There are still ways to do really good guest posting. There's ways to get really good resource links. Obviously, digital PR links are incredible. That's why we offer it as a service, is because it's a great way to get quality backlinks. But I wouldn't say it's the only way that you can get links that move the needle. Really, what we want to look at here is two things. I look at link diversity and relevance. My number one thing is if you're going out and paying for guest posts on sites that everybody and their dog can publish on, and that's irrelevant, it's a general news site with different sections, and you're just going to throw a link in the section that relates to you, I would say that link is worthless at this point. No questions asked. However, if you find a person out there who's publishing content in your industry, people in your industry are present there, they are, there's a community, there's engagement, and you write a well thought out piece of content that provides value to that audience, and you're linking out to something on your website that speaks to that subject and provides further value, then that to me is a link that will matter and will provide value. The way I gave a presentation recently for SEJ, for Search Engine Journal, where I kind of talked about it, just as we've talked about helpful content for years, we should talk about helpful links. Like, is this link actually helping people and getting them the information that they need and want? And if you can do that and make your website a great resource, those are going to be links that will consistently matter and send signals. The thing you want to think about is, am I following patterns that are reflective of low quality spammy links, or am I following patterns of quality organic links when it comes to your link building? And those patterns of low quality spammy links are going to be crummy guest post sites with little traffic, exact match anchor text to a product or service page. All those kinds of things are the things that are going to show Google to ignore these links rather than provide a value to them. Kristan, do you have any other thoughts on that one?
I know, honestly, I think the approach that you outlined is great and will make a difference. We see link building make a difference across the board, even outside of digital PR. And I think Michael hit the nail on the head there, where it's all about that relevance and providing those helpful links. Those will really make a difference in the long run.
Yeah, I also love this link diversity thing. This is something I'm always trying to get my clients to work with us on. Is, so much of the link building nowadays is you go to X link building provider website, you say, I want 10 DA 20 to 30 links, I want 5 DA 30 to, and then you send your purchase order and you get a bunch of guest post links back. That is not going to be a very organic looking backlink profile in the eyes of Google. So that's one thing I'm always telling you, is link diversity is important as well. So have a few guest post links, build some resource links, build some digital PR links, do some, all these strategies will help you build out a much more organic, diverse backlink profile. So that's how I like to think of it. But to your point, Megan, and in the kind of the premise of your question, a lot of the link building that used to work in the past just straight doesn't work anymore. And it's not like the big scary penguin days where you think your website's going to get penalized to oblivion, but it's more of, I'm just wasting money on links that Google's ignoring. And we want to help our clients avoid that. All right. What if my company doesn't have any link mentions? How do I get them? That's where PR and brand building is really helpful. You kind of can't get the unlinked mentions unless there's mentions of your brand to begin with. So getting started on PR and brand building, I think, is a big part of that. Okay, there was a question. Oh, we had a whole website that we needed to look at. Avid Exchange. So while Kristan was talking, I jumped in and kind of went overboard, which is kind of how things go. But I always like to start out when I'm looking at a website, is I like to see what content on your website is driving traffic. I use SEMrush for this initially. So what I did was I just grabbed your site. And to your point, you were saying, hey, one of our big goals right now is we want to get more non-branded search traffic. That's been a challenge for the organization. And I kind of see that here. Like a lot of your top performing keywords are all branded. So that makes sense why that's a goal and a concern in the organization currently. So one of the things I'll start by looking at is what is like some of the non-branded opportunity that you have on your website currently. And a lot of it is your blog content. You actually have some pretty good blog content here that's like just answering basic definitional questions like what is ACH versus wire transfer? And just so everybody knows, this is an accounts payable automation software. So those are great questions that your target audience might actually be searching for and questions that they're asking on the web. So I really like this. It looks like you're kind of headed in the right direction with your content strategy. But then one thing I like to do from a link building perspective is say, in terms of what pages on your site you should build links to, is what are the pages on my site that are underlinked or haven't had a lot of backlinks, and which of these have high search volume opportunity. So you actually have some really high volume search pages that have fewer than 10 links. And some of these, the average keyword ranking is page 2. So you've got these like pages with all this traffic that's just sitting on page 2 and you're not quite onto page 1. And if these pages don't have a lot of backlinks pointing to them, that could potentially be one of your gaps that you would want to figure out to help these pages rank better. So that would be one thing I would look at is some pages like this. So what I did to find this number here, I did a batch analysis on Ahrefs. So I just grabbed all the top pages that I could find, and then I just had it give me the number of referring domains. So that would be one angle from a link building perspective I would explore, just to see, eBill, you guys are ranked number 13 for that right now, and there's 0 backlinks pointing to that page. That gets 7,200 searches per month. What is payment processing software? This one maybe not as, here we go, payment processing software, number 5. That's a probably pretty good keyword for you guys in general. And this page, sorry, that last one had 2, oh, sorry, no, the same one. This one has 0 links pointing to it. So who knows, with a few backlinks, maybe that page could perform even better. So those are some of the things that I was looking at and thinking about initially. This same process that I used for like exporting the data from SEMrush and creating these pivot tables, I love doing it for my clients' competitors, so you can see what content they're using to drive non-branded search traffic. So look at your competitors and see what are those non-branded terms that they're using to attract traffic, and from there try to replicate the best practices they're using and apply that to a content strategy for you. So that was quick little feedback that I had. Chris, I don't know if you've had any little revelations as you've looked at the site briefly.
I was literally just digging in to see if I had enough time to find some nuggets as well. I think a lot of what I would focus on immediately would be kind of what you hit on with those striking distance keywords. And so I think initial quick opportunities would be like, okay, what's ranking at the bottom of page 1 or top, on page 2 that you can boost up, basically. Those would be quicker wins. And then the product pages, those will obviously be the money pages. And so really focusing on that content deep dive on those, because those are going to be targeting, I think, more competitive terms in the financial space, like invoice management software, accounts payable solutions, things like that. So just making sure that those are super dialed and the content on that is optimized. Like I like to go on like a page by page basis and just do a content deep dive. It looks like from the blog section, when I can see non-branded traffic, there are a couple pages that really drive the bulk of traffic. So maybe trying to expand into some other topical areas on the blog, like the ACH versus wire transfer blog article seems to be like a heavy lifter. Those would be some of my my quick wins. I haven't run this yet, but also that competitive gap analysis as well. Like Zoho Invoice, is a big player in the industry, Stripe, FreshBook. So running gap analysis against some of these big the big providers as well.
Interesting. Yeah,
the big companies. Yeah, Billy. Yeah,
Kristan, is What are your thoughts on, in terms of like organizing this title tag? They lead with the brand name, Avid Invoice dash invoice management software. Do you have a preference on, would you lead with the non-branded keyword on that? Do you think that would make a difference for them?
I do actually, because well, it's 2024, but shockingly, but not shockingly, title tags still make a big difference in terms of ranking. I'm a big fan of testing title tags and just kind of monitoring before and after. And so, yeah, I would probably bump the non-branded content further to the left. That'll be focal point for users when they're scanning, and then probably include just like the product name at the end. Like you might not even need the Avid Exchange. Like you just have the product name, because Google and users know that that's Avid Exchange when they're searching for that specific product.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought, was like, you know, when you hear the symptoms, which is like, we're struggling with non-branded. And then when we look, and the first thing that we see is a branded keyword, the non-brand, I'm like, okay, well, based on the feedback that we got, that would make sense to potentially flip that around. So very cool. And that's what the competitors are doing here. Stamply, who is less authoritative than you guys, they are using that. And then Zoho, who's more authoritative, they've got that too. But either way, I mean, I think that's a good little feedback there.
One other nugget there as well, like even seeing that internal link for Avid Invoice, also making sure your internal links use that non-branded terminology as well will help boost that up, because you know, Michael might have some other thoughts here as well, but different guidelines for internal links, and that I think, you know, quote unquote exact match anchor text, but like thinking about contextual relevance in your anchor text for internal links, different scoring than external links.
Yeah, I when it comes to internal linking, I'm all about that keyword anchor text. So I agree with you there. Even right here, Avid Invoice. There's the link to it, but I wonder if there is a way to maybe integrate some of that internal linking there. So all right, very good. Hopefully that was helpful for you. Want to make sure I got the right person here on who we answered that question for. That was for Thomas Ransom. So Thomas, hopefully we got you some good back there, and that was helpful. All right, we've got a few more questions. We're running low on time here. Why would you do PR branding without links? That seems counterproductive. So that's a good question, Megan. So it's less of what do you want, and ultimately what journalists end up and PR professionals end up doing. It's just often not front of mind for a journalist or for a PR professional to get the backlink or to request the backlink. So that's where just having somebody on the backside of all those efforts, going through, checking to see if those mentioned, if someone forgot, and it's usually pretty simple. Like we'll reach out to a journalist and just say like, hey, thanks so much for the mention. We appreciate it. We're super nice about it. Would you mind including a link? And then if you just, you know, suggest the page you want them to link to, then they're quite often, you know, very high conversion rate compared to other link building, willing to add that. So yeah, good question there. Let's see here. We're kind of winding down here. Any other last minute questions before we hop off? I know I probably missed a couple of questions. Maybe Kristan, I'll send over to you, and then I can get your feedback on some of them, and then I'll put together a follow-up email to everyone who attended the webinar with some answers to the remaining questions.
That sounds great. Yeah, happy to help out after a call today.
All right. Well, how many attended? So we had floating between 45 to 50 attendees today. We had a lot of registrants as well. A lot of people from overseas registered, and they were like, can you send me a recording? So we'll get that hooked up. But yeah, our average attendance for a webinar is around 30. So we today was one of our best ones. We performed between 50 and 75% above our typical. So Kristan probably brought the star power there. We appreciate that. But thank you all so much. Kristan, thank you. Anything else before we hop off?
I just thanks to everyone again for taking the time to join today. Super fun conversation about e-commerce, and then questions. Those are some really great questions, and really fun digging into the Q&A. So thanks again for taking your time today, and for Michael for hosting this. It's been a pleasure.
You bet. Thanks, Kristan. Thank you, everybody. We will
thanks, everyone.
talk to you all soon. Have a good one.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.